I have hit all of the gear milestones I like wrote down when I started, and I am 3.5 years in.
Hey everyone, it's me, Veda Scott. We're back. I say that every time, like we're back as if we've been on some sort of hiatus. The only hiatus is between the episodes and like how fast I edit them.
Fair enough.
We're back, and you're not back. This is your first time.
No, this is my first
on
time
the
doing
show.
this. I have no clue what I'm doing.
Yes, that's perfect. Awesome. Well, this is Drawing Power, which is a little bit of an interview show, a little bit of like a kindergarten arts and crafts class.
Okay.
And I have Sway Archer here today, which is exciting for me because you are an artist yourself, an artist of the textile nature.
Yes.
We will talk quite a bit about that. And the reason I started doing this is because I am unable to draw anything.
Okay, we are in the same boat.
Good. Okay. I thought you were going to be a sneaky artist on me.
No.
Okay.
For somebody who makes stuff that everybody says, "Oh, it looks so good," I am the opposite of talented with physical implements.
Well, we will find out. I'm going to give you the sketch pad. We've got the official Drawing Power crayon bin. Now, of course, the set changes every time. Today, I just found this high chair that I put it in.
That's
So
adorable.
They're
It's
safe.
very fitting.
Yeah, there we go. So, I got to give us something to draw. And lately, I've been trying to use this little website thing that, like, you spin the wheel and it picks a topic for you. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but we're gonna try it. So hit spin on this.
Okay.
Oh no, an ad's popping up.
Oh,
not
no.
an ad, not an ad. Can you see it? No, it's just an ad. All right, choose a friend to decide. I have no friends. Let's do it again.
I'm not getting anybody.
Spin. Here we go. An item nearby to you.
Oh,
okay.
God.
I don't even know if that's fun, but we're going to do it anyway. You
Okay.
know what? That's not even good. Hold on.
I was gonna say, I was like-
that's not even good.
I'd have to draw like another wrestler
This is not...
or somebody's suitcase or something.
Something seasoned themed. These are terrible.
What is
Hold
going on?
Hold on. Is there anybody nearby that... Hey, what's your favorite animal? A lion? Okay, name another
lion.
one. I just did lions. Name another one.
Let's say goats.
A goat.
A goat.
Perfect. We're going to draw some goats.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you,
Thanks.
anonymous voice. All right, we're here at C4, by the way, for Fighting Back, raising money for cancer, against cancer research and things.
Yeah, we're not on the side of cancer.
Not vehemently anti-cancer. But, Sway Archer, let's draw some goats. And I try not to look as I'm doing it, but it's a little proximity here.
I was gonna say it is a very close
Now,
environment.
do you have any, like, personal connection to goats as an animal?
Not
Are you
in
a
the
fan of the goat?
slightest. Like, I've been to maybe one petting zoo in my entire life.
Wow.
And that's probably the only time I've ever encountered a goat. You know the really sad part? I was like 25. Like the first
When
time
you
I ever
your
went to a
first
petting zoo.
Are you an animal lover in general?
Yes. Just more of the domestic variety, urban domestic variety. Because
Like-
I guess goats are domesticated, but they're very rural.
Right. Like, so you wouldn't live on a farm necessarily, which is
Oh
my
no,
dream,
I'd
by
go
the
stir
way.
crazy.
I freaking love goats. My Instagram feed is a lot of goats. And recently, Speedball Mike Bailey and I, we've been doing these farm stays recently where we'll like spend a couple days staying at a little farm, and that way we get to see the animals and things. And the last one that we stayed at had a lot of goats. And we still talk about this basically every day. So we went to see the goats, and there was like a big giant, like with the horns, like big old man goat, right? And we're like, wow, look at him. He's kind of off by himself. And then all of a sudden he came over to where the other goats were, and there was a female goat, and she started urinating. Like this goat is just pissing, and the big goat with the horns, he puts his head underneath the stream of piss and goes like full on, like Hannibal Lecter, like he was loving it, and he was making eye contact with us as he did it. Like, yeah, I'm doing this right now. He was fucking loving it. So I'm all for sexual liberation in goats, and I say do your thing.
That's
Alrighty,
such a weird.
already this doesn't really look like a goat.
I was literally about to say the exact same thing because I'm realizing now that I've tried to draw one head on,
Oh yeah, that's a
which
problem.
is like the
No.
worst perspective to try and do.
That happened. So now that I've told my goat story and people have tuned out of the show, let's talk about you. All right, so you are of course a pro wrestler, but
Allegedly, yes.
well, the thing is, what I really want to talk to you about though is the gear making, because you have become truly like the guy who makes gear.
I'm not the guy.
You're one of the guys.
If I had a contract, there's very few contracted positions for this. I would consider myself the guy, but I am one of many who is lucky to have a full-time income off of gear making.
Okay, so I can relate to that because again, same with broadcasting. There's very few contracted
Is there
positions,
a dozen?
right? So like you're the guy amongst freelancers, let's say.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we should explain this, and I think this is something that like a lot of people are privy to, but essentially like a wrestling company like an AEW or a WWE, they have a staff of people on hand who do that and
Yeah.
kind of like are like on scene.
Yeah, the difference is basically in-house versus freelance. And then there's a weird middle ground that some people sit in where they're only there for like the big pay-per-views and
Okay.
stuff like that. But they'll still get the majority of their business from a company. And it's just something really weird. In an unofficial capacity, I am in that weird middle ground.
Yes, I
of
totally get
not being paid to be there all the time, but being there pretty often. So it's a weird middle ground where I am, by legal definitions, a freelancer.
And you've
But-
been making gear for people who are in pretty prominent spots right now.
Yep, I have made gear for somebody in every major promotion at least once, and I regularly have gear on TNA and WWE. AEW is a bit harder to crack because they have,
They
while
have
they
a
do have a large
team,
roster,
yeah.
they had like a team, and it shrunk, and now they're trying to expand it out back again.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of their stuff is being made kind of in-house, whereas
Yes.
with TNA and WWE too, a lot of times you'll, especially as you like go through your career, like you'll have your person who makes the gear for you,
Yeah.
and maybe they'll kind of follow you throughout your career. And I feel like that's kind of like where you're at right now. You have a lot of people who like will come to you and want you.
That definitely happens. Like, there are people that I have made for prior to making it to a major company, and then once they make it, they keep using me. There's people that, using me sounds terrible, they keep coming to me for business. And then there are people where I've started making for them while they're already there, which is difficult to do. It's difficult to acquire a talent as a client while they're at a major company who has in-house, because like, I don't want to assume that the in-house might be too busy, but the first thing that usually springs to mind is like, okay, well, why didn't they go to the in-house people? Is it they weren't capable of doing this? Is it that they just liked my work more, which is a wild thing to think about, because like, why am I being chosen over the people who are probably giving you a discount? Because as far as I know, I don't know if any of the in-house people make for free for the people that are contracted to the company they work for.
Well, and also like if you're week to week, you're on television, you're traveling with a particular wrestling company, or even like you're just seeing the person week to week. Like that's got to be easier
Way
relationship to
easier.
have. Whereas you are making gear for people literally around the world, and
Yep.
you don't oftentimes have like physical. Like if you go to AEW or you go to WWE, you go to TNA even, you will see the sewing machines are out. People are being measured. Like alterations are happening right there. But you oftentimes have to do it completely remotely. Like that seems so challenging.
For a long time, I refused to do women's gear because I was so worried about getting it wrong, because I couldn't measure them in person, and there are so many more measurements to take. The way that I typically describe it, and now I've gotten into making women's gear and I've gotten better at it, which was a slow process. But the way I describe it is men's gear is typically designed and made in 2D. You only
makes
have
sense.
to worry about how tall the piece is and how wide the piece is. You don't normally have to worry about depth.
Yeah, and it's a lot of probably just trunks, tights, like very, very much like the same silhouette.
Exactly. That's the second layer. So the first layer of it is the 2D versus the 3D, worrying about the hips and the back rise accommodations, and that's not even to talk about tops with women. Obviously, men don't usually get tops. Women getting tops, way more difficult. But the second thing is, even within those categories of trunks, tights, singlet, bodysuit, butcher singlet, all of that stuff, men typically tend to stick to one of two things: high-waisted, regular waist.
Mm-hmm.
Women, high-waisted, low-waisted, they're more likely to do cutouts. You can have a regular circle waist, you can have a V-taper waist. And that's just within trunks and tights. There's so many more things to consider when doing women's gear, and I was always so paranoid of getting it wrong. And the first time I ever tried to do something for like women that were on television and had more complex gear, I was like, okay, well, I have to see the gear to see if I can do it, because I don't know how to pattern out these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it in, and I looked at it, and I was like, I am incapable of this. The first thing that scared me away from it was reskinning a bra. Taking like a Victoria's Secret bra and making it look like wrestling gear while keeping the internals
But
of the bra.
that's a hot tip, because that's how a lot of the gear is
That's
made.
how anything you see with sculpted cups,
Yeah.
it's not that like they're putting the cups in themselves. Not usually. There's very few people who do that. It's usually just a bra that has fabric put over top of it. And as far as I know, the people who are considered good at it, there's like 4 of them. If they're
It doesn't,
out
like,
of like
lay right
100 some odd
otherwise.
gear makers, there's 4 people I know who do that well, and the people who specialize in women's gear. They usually don't make
all
for
my
men.
cosplay girlies out there, you know how to reskin a bra.
If you can do that, you are better than like 80% of us, because we can't.
And then there's the other factor too, and because this is when in my younger days, like I always had a sewing machine. I did a lot of sewing. Like I loved designing, but I never really got into wrestling gear, because clothing that you're gonna wear to like walk down the street versus clothing you're gonna wear in a wrestling ring that has to like, I don't know, not split up the back immediately, not be like
it's a
immediately
different
ruined by
ballgame.
sweat. Spandex, like it's just a whole other thing. I didn't even bother trying to get into it, but I do remember one time I was in Japan, and one of the girls that I was living with, she had had the seamstress had been coming by the house, by the dojo, to do measurements and things, and because she was ordering her new costume, and finally the new costume came in, and we were looking at it, and it was like, so just the amount of like layers. This is the Joshi Pro Wrestling gear.
Yeah.
The intricacy and the layers and like the lining, and this thing was, and it was heavy, and
Yeah.
it was a true costume, and that is why she only changed her costume once a year. And many
Yeah, that
many
makes sense.
times in Joshi Pro Wrestling, like you will get a new costume, you'll change your look a little
That's
bit,
a big deal.
like once a year,
Yeah.
because it's expensive,
Mhm.
and also the gear, it's so crafted that it lasts. But also, I remember when she got it, I don't remember offhand the number, but it was like more than I had spent on my wardrobe in the year was this one costume,
Just not
and
surprising.
she was like, and I'm not getting another one until a year.
Yeah, and so for me, when I started making gear, Japanese wrestling gear
Mhm.
was what I like aspired to. There's a gentleman named Soi Takeda who makes for probably like most of the biggest New Japan stars.
Yep.
I think he's done almost all of Naito's stuff, a lot of stuff for Sonata, and then all of like Bullet Club, and like the newer age Bullet Club. I don't know how far back his catalog goes, but newer age Bullet Club, all of those crazy big robes you see, like he's made the good chunk of them. And his stuff, I always look at it and I go like, this is insane.
So that's like that's aspirational.
He's who I consider the best in the world. And
Incredible.
you can't buy from him unless you go to Japan to get measured. So that's why like his clientele is almost exclusively Japanese wrestlers and wrestlers from North America and the UK who have done trips to Japan. Like I think he makes all of Chris Brooks' stuff.
So basically, yeah, you have to like have an in to
Yeah.
kind of get there.
For people who don't watch Japanese wrestling, all of Santos Escobar's really fancy knee pads and trunks are
Yeah.
made by him. Same thing with the rest of Legado del Fantasma. All of their really, really cool stuff is made by him. And I don't even want to know how much he ends up costing.
But it's the kind of thing where like you look at it and you're like, I understand how this comes together. But it's like this is like the echelon of the craft for you. In terms of,
Yeah,
like, your
there is nothing out of place. The materials also, that's one thing that like
oh my god. Ah!
that's one thing that like the Japanese market has over the American market. They have materials that we don't have over here that just look so much better under bright lights and on HD cameras and stuff like that. Because there's only so many fabrics you can actually make wrestling gear out of.
Right.
Japan has everything that America has and more.
Because yeah, if you find a cool fabric, you could maybe make an awesome dress out of it.
Yeah.
But in order to turn that in, you can't take that necessarily that same fabric, turn it into wrestling gear, have the person sweat in it, go out and wrestle a 30-minute match. Like it just isn't made for that.
And I've learned that over the years by messing up. Like there's a fabric I remember I used it for a few things. The first jacket I actually made for Speedball had it on it, and then a set of gear that I did for Alexia Nicole, where it was like a silver sort of foily looking fabric, and it ended up looking. It was good for Alexia because it was the whole like bionic woman thing. It ended up looking like it was rusted after about 3 months. And I first saw it on Alexia and I thought, oh, maybe it's like other people's like rub-on tanner or spray tanner is like messing it up.
That happens.
And it's just taking on to, it happens with
Yeah.
white stuff all the time. It's taking on to that, because the black it won't take on to, but that's where it's showing. No, this fabric, it was just, if you rubbed it enough, like I took the excess that I had at home, and I just rubbed it together while sitting there watching a TV show, and yeah, it turned flesh-toned. So,
the lights just came
The
on,
lights
so the whole
did
look
come
of this
on.
thing just changed. It's fine.
but stuff like that,
Just trial
it's a
and
stretch
error.
material.
Yeah.
You would think, oh, it's a stretch material. They sell it at this. I'm very blessed to live an hour away from a store that specializes in spandex. You would think, oh, it's all spandex, it's all the same, it's all going to work good. No, some stuff you could wear for cheerleading, where it's never going to touch the ground and it's never going to come in contact with anything. But wrestling stuff, it has to be durable.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
any new material, I stress test it. I'll sit there watching a TV show and I'll just rub it together a bunch of
Yeah,
times.
because like if you look at like dance wear and dance costumes, like that's awesome, but there's something about like rubbing on the canvas is
Yep.
is one that really like can destroy things. Yeah, and I don't even think about that until I will see someone's gear and I'll be like, oh, white gear, that's brave. That's brave. You're getting foundation on it. You're getting blood on it sometimes. So now I have to ask. I used to have a particular outfit that I would wear every time I would wrestle Sue Young, because inevitably
the
the
makeup
mist,
and the fake
yes,
blood and the mist, yes.
which shout out Sue, my absolute favorite. But and then also I had early on I wrestled the Vatiri a lot.
Oh, and they have like
green,
Yeah.
green. It's green skin, obviously, because they're shoot goblins. But no, the green would rub off, and I would have like particular gear that I would wear. So I have to ask. You're talking about trial and error, things that you've done, things you've tried. What's your favorite gear that you've made?
Oh man,
I'm putting you on spot here.
I'm a victim of recency bias because I think my favorite recent set is a tie between the sets I made for Jordan Grace and Speedball for Slammiversary. Speedball was like a black and gold, like dragon-inspired set,
Yep.
and then Jordan Grace was black, blue, and white with a ton of rhinestones. It was the first time I made for Jordan. Those are like my recent picks. I do think probably my favorite set I've ever made. It's probably the white and gold set I made for Trick Williams when he won the North American Championship.
Oh.
Which is also, it's fitting that it's my favorite set, because I'd said that, like, since I made it, I was like, it's probably my favorite set, because it worked so well.
Yeah.
And I was always a big fan of Seth Rollins' white and gold set. And then that ended up being the first set that I ever made that got made into an action figure. So
Okay, that's cool.
it's not on pre-order yet, and I'm like anxiously checking every couple of days to
That's
make sure that I can
freaking
order
cool.
enough of them.
That's freaking cool. Wow. Just
Yeah.
like to know that a look that you put together is so associated with a person or is like iconic in some way. That is freaking cool. That's a good moment.
That was one of my milestones, and it's funny, I have hit, with the exception of 2 of them, I have hit all of the gear milestones I like wrote down when I started, and I am 3.5 years in. Because
That's so freaking cool.
I got Wrestle Kingdom way before I thought I was going to. And shout out to Leo Rush, because Leo Rush is the reason I had gear on
you've
Wrestle
made a lot
Kingdom.
of Leo stuff, right?
Yeah. The first set I ever made him, I was like, oh, okay, this is just going to be like, test the waters or whatever. And he sent me a design. I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And I did it. And it was a vest, pants, knee pads, kick pads.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, okay, cool. So I, quoted him everything. I said, okay, when do you need it for? And he's like, I need it before the end of the year. I was like, crap, because like Christmas. But I'm like, I can fit it in. I don't do tons of stuff after Boxing Day, right? The 26th. Americans don't have Boxing Day,
Canada.
right? Yes.
Yeah, the 26th. Day after the. I was about to say the day after the 25th, which yes, of course, the day after Christmas. Yes.
Yeah. So I was like, I'll have time to do it. And I go, okay, does it need to be like in your hands for a certain day? Like, are you using it for a show? And
What happens right after the end of the year?
Because I wasn't even thinking about it. Because
Right.
Leo to me has always been North American.
Yeah.
I never even processed like, oh, you might be going to Japan. I was like, I need it before I leave because my flight leaves on here. Like for Wrestle Kingdom. I was like, oh, okay. So Wrestle Kingdom I got very, very early on. Video game was also Trick. In 2K23, he was a DLC character, and that was gear I made. Pete Dunne was also in 2K23, and I designed the set that he wore. And then I think the only ones I'm missing now are having a regular client. I count regular client as like, have I made for them more than twice during a year? A regular client for AEW, because I don't have that. And then WrestleMania. WrestleMania gear is probably the most elusive.
Yeah, because people plan for that. Like,
and people get gear and then don't get on WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I know, like just from from having friends, like, and I'm sure you can speak to this too, like starting to kind of conceive of their WrestleMania look very early on, trying to line up someone to do it. Like, it's a whole process, but I feel like it's inevitable at this point.
Even on the indies, I closed commissions for Mania in January because the people who, with the exception of like regular clients, like there are people where if they ask me for gear on 2 weeks' notice, yeah, I'm gonna do it because they've ordered 12, 15 sets from me. It's like I'd be stupid to turn it down.
And this is why you support your designers, and when you find someone who has talent, you continue to support them because they won't do you dirty.
Tag them.
Won't do you dirty.
Tag them on social media. It means a ton.
Yes.
There are so many people on social media where I get people going, oh, like I love this person's gear, and I go, oh, okay. I actually don't know who makes their stuff. And I'm somebody who dedicates like, say an hour a week to just scrolling through gear makers that I follow on Instagram and actually looking into like, who are they making for? Are they doing anything interesting, like any cool techniques that I haven't seen before? So for the lay person or the indie wrestler who doesn't look up that stuff religiously, if they want to find your gear maker to give them some more business so that, because it happens, your gear maker doesn't go, gear making bookings are drying up, I might have to go back and get a regular job. If you want your gear maker to be full-time, and they will keep you, they won't throw you to the wayside, as long as you're good to them, they will be good to you. Let them get other clients and help them get other clients by tagging them. Same way you tag a photographer that took your promo photo, same way you would tag the promotion that you're working at that picture's from, tag the gear maker. Because it helps them a lot, and it might help you a lot because they might put people onto you and the looks that you wear.
Yep.
People who have no interest in wrestling, you might get followers out of it. You might get merch out of it. Which
people sometimes are just like, oh, this person has a really interesting look. I'm going to check out their work. And then they find a new favorite. Yeah, like graphic designers, all of it. Like,
tag them too.
Credit everybody because honestly, like it has to be such a collaborative industry. We're all creatives on some level, whether your creativity is behind a sewing machine or in the ring, or in your case, both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, so, I'm very lucky. Where like I'm 27 years old today, and I make.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. And I make my full-time living off of wrestling.
I didn't know it was your birthday. We could have drawn something for your birthday. Instead,
I might have been a little bit better because this is bad.
All right, are you done? Are you done?
I'm done.
All right, let's
I've been done because I'm like,
okay, all right.
if I keep messing with it, it's going to be worse.
So traditionally, I reveal my drawing first. And I know I said I love goats. I'm a big fan of goats. This is, first of all, okay. So if you remember from the Vavitch, Black Phillip.
Black Phillip is the only goat that I can think of and
the
visualize.
devil as a goat. That's kind of what we have going on here. So first of all, the horns, I was happy with the horns. That's all I have. The eyes, they have those like the.
They have sideways
pupils,
eyes. Them and
yeah.
deers. Yeah.
Yes. So those are okay. The ears, incorrect. That's a cat. The nose, not right. The mouth, terrifying. And then I tried to draw the body. And what are these feet? First of all, goats famously, much like the devil himself, have cloven hooves.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I drew feet.
Just straight up feet.
Straight up feet.
A tail.
This is bad. This is, by looking at this, honestly, you may have just lost your soul to this goat. So, that's bad.
On an upside for you, mine is worse.
Wow!
Didn't even get a body because I started drawing it head on and realized I have no clue how I would do perspective to draw a body. Black Phillip, big horns. I'm glad that we were on the same page with the sideways eyes. I gave it like mutton chops.
What is...
And then a little tuft of hair. I realized I can't draw the mouth either. I have no clue.
This is not, none of this is good. So, and as I remember from my story about the goat that had the other goat pissing in his mouth, they have very prominent teeth. Didn't draw that.
Didn't draw teeth. Mine is just the devil.
This is not good. This is bad, and I'm sorry for everyone watching it. I feel like we need to like douse the set in holy water.
There's a reason I outsource logos. If you ask me to make a logo, I'm not the one doing it. I outsource, and JCP Designs is usually the person who I ask to do that. So he's way better than me.
Wrestlers who are watching this right now, if you have like any goat-themed gear in mind, I mean, again,
I will not be drawing.
You'll outsource it.
I will not be drawing the goat. Send me the logos in high quality, please, or else this is the limit of my physical drawing capability.
And I promise, I will be including throughout this broadcast many photographic examples of your gear work, so people understand that that's all good.
This is not what I do. Even like designs that I make on Photoshop to show people, like, this is what I envision your gear looking like. None of that is done by using a Wacom tablet or taking the mouse and clicking and drawing. It is all done by using the pen tool and manually bending lines in Photoshop and pressing the undo button about 30 times per line. I don't draw.
Okay,
I've always been bad at it.
What about when Asmodeus himself comes over your body and forces you to draw?
This is what happens, and it's very bad. It's not colored in. I don't know what I even tried with the mouth. This is bad.
All right, I'm going to see if we can get like an exorcism going on here on the Drawing Power set.
I've knocked down my stock as a gear maker like tenfold just by revealing that I have no physical art capability. I was a theater kid. You don't have to draw.
But if people want to see more of your work and your wrestling work, where can they find you?
Easiest way to do it, because I found out a lot of people don't know how to spell apparel. Sway Archer on everything. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, literally everywhere. And then on my Instagram specifically, if you look up at Sway Archer, one of the first things in the bio is at Archer Wrestling Apparel, which is the gear page, where it's sort of my portfolio. It's not nearly as updated as it could be, because I'm trying to curate a specific look for it. I'm trying to get high quality photos.
You want the grid to look a certain way.
Right? And then I put a lot of sneak peeks and behind the scenes photos of the actual process on Patreon. So if you search Sway Archer on Patreon, it's also there. I think I do that stuff for like as little as like $3 a month.
Hell yeah. All right, check it out. And thank you for joining us on Drawing Power. Sorry about your soul.
Yeah, and sorry to anybody who likes goats.
Too bad.